welcome to my review of League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. This is a 2003 film that was directed by somebody, I can't even remember the director's name. It was released in 2003, I believe, and it stars Sean Connery, and I don't know if it's based on any source material. It's mainly a collaboration. Basically the setup is that it takes place in a fictional 1899. The movie really wants you to know it's 1899 because it plasters it all over the film. Like they plaster it like it's an old-fashioned spy film. And then again, it technically was made in 03 during the height of, Mission Impossible, so I wouldn't be surprised. The film itself is rather dull, doesn't really have much artistic vision. The score is alright, it ain't the worst thing in the world. It's kind of generic, but it does work as an orchestral. Sean Connery also looks a lot disinterested. He looks like the most disinterested man in his career, disinterested actor in this film. Wow, honestly, it doesn't shock me, as this would be the last film he would ever do. Yes, and he turned down this for Lord of the Rings. He would have played Gandalf in that. Yikes. Only one source, but probably did. Another thing that I think definitely bumps this film down is that it has a bit of a twist villain. I won't give away where it is for the one person who wants to see this film. And it isn't really that big of a shock. You can pretty much sense it a mile away if you at least have a thinking brain on. This film was an hour and 15 minutes, which took forever, honestly. I was looking back at the little timer on on the little streaming thing, and it's just some of the most boring, stuff. It's basically talking, maybe an action scene, a bit of talking, maybe an action scene. And this basically collects a bunch of famous names from literature, like Dr. Jekyll, Tom Sawyer, Female Dracula, and I believe Dorian Gray or Jack the Ripper. I might be wrong about that. I don't know. It's also very much ends abruptly. It pretty much ends abruptly. Like, after, after a major character dies at the end of the film, some weird native... I hope that isn't blackface they were wearing, or whatever face is called for Native Americans, was basically, or African, I'm sorry, was chanting, and then thunder strikes. He was doing some sort of ritual, and thunder strikes, and then I guess what it's supposed to mean is that the major character comes back to life either as a zombie or something. Obviously teasing a sequel, but a sequel will be never made, because Sean Connery never returns, or any of the others. I don't have any much box office info on this, but I don't know if it did well or not. Another problem with this film is definitely some of the green screen effects, particularly in the later half of the film, do not age well. Even for 2003, I mean, Return of the King came out that year, and it did. It was pretty good, I heard. So, there was really not much excuse, especially when you have a pretty good budget. Another thing I think this film does quite poorly is the integration. It's probably all the romances with the female Dracula. At first, it's Dorian Gray, who is probably a bit of my second favorite character in the film. He's not, but that's not really saying much, as most of the characters are bland millionaires. And, Invisible Man, I mean, I didn't really get much. I mean, he felt like he had white skin. The first time he kind of put shaving cream on him, and somehow it dries. So, are we supposed to assume it dried that quickly? I don't know, honestly. Another thing this film probably did a bit poorly was probably the characters themselves. They're bland, unexciting, and honestly, I didn't really feel any emotion for them, and they kind of just meant nothing. I mean, they do some things in the film, but I mean, besides trying to capture the main bad guy, who I believe is German, and they actually do have German voices, but then they just completely do a Red October and switch them out for English-speaking voices, which kind of bugged me because, again, you can do it right, and then you can do it wrong, and it just rubbed me the wrong way. I think also the set pieces are kind of uninspired, and Sean Connery just looks old at this point. Like, even back in 2003, the man did not look like he was in his heyday, which is to be expected. But honestly, I was expecting a bit more. Anyways, that was my review of League of Extraordinary Gentlemen from 2003. If they ever make a remake, well, just make it more colorful. Anyways, that will be it, and I hope you have a fantastic week.